The Zorvith Empire's fleet entered the Sol system with the arrogance of conquerors. 50 warships, each a masterpiece of destruction, formed an unstoppable wave of power. Their hulls gleamed under distant starlight, energy shields humming with raw strength. They had crushed entire civilizations before. This would be no different. Admiral Xor Vanek stood at the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, gazing at the holographic display. Earth's ships hovered near Mars, slow, bulky, and unprepared. "They don't even have a defensive formation," one of his officers scoffed. Xor Vanek bared his fangs in amusement. Pathetic. The fleet moved in. The first step was simple: broadcast Earth's surrender demand. Humans. Xor Vanek's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Your warships are laughable. Your defenses are weak. Surrender now, and perhaps we will spare your homeworld from total destruction." No response. A second officer sneered. "They are frozen in fear." Xor Vanek. "We're in it." "Good. Open fire." The first barrage of plasma cannons lit up the void. Fiery bolts of energy streaked toward the human ships, explosions blossoming across the battlefield. Except, something was wrong. The cargo ships didn't explode. They barely even moved. The flames cleared, and the Zorvath commanders stared in confusion. The human ships, not a single one was destroyed. "Impossible," an officer whispered. "Our weapons hit directly." Then, Earth's fleet moved. Slowly, deliberately, like predators preparing to strike. Xor Vanek narrowed his eyes. Something is wrong. The human ships began transmitting a message. A single line. "Now you learn." Then the first Earth warship revealed its true form. The cargo panels along its hull suddenly shifted, retracting to reveal layers of heavy armor. Sections of the ship opened, revealing massive weapon systems unlike anything the Zorvith had ever seen. One by one, the other ships did the same. The harmless human fleet was no fleet of traitors. It was a fleet of monsters, and the real battle had only just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with laughter. High-ranking diplomats and military leaders from across the universe sat in their towering seats, their holographic screens displaying images of Earth's so-called warships. "They call these warships?" scoffed Supreme Commander Vroth of the Zorvith Empire, his reptilian face twisted in amusement. "They look like cargo haulers." Another ambassador, a tall insectoid from the Kryn Dominion, waved a claw dismissively. "Primitive designs, slow, weak armor. These ships wouldn't survive a skirmish, let alone a war." More laughter erupted in the chamber. Earth had recently been granted a minor seat in the council, a decision made out of formality, not respect. The humans had advanced quickly in the last few centuries, but compared to the great empires of the galaxy, they were nothing. Now, with their military fleet finally revealed, the council saw the truth. Humans were not warriors. Their ships were bulky, outdated, and sluggish. No sleek designs, no advanced energy shields, just metal hulks that looked like they belonged in a trading fleet. Ambassador Drenner of the Yelvos Union smirked. "Perhaps we should not call them warships at all. Maybe armed freighters would be more appropriate." The room erupted into another round of laughter. But not everyone was laughing. A single figure sat in silence at the edge of the council chamber. Captain Elias Grant, Earth's representative, remained still, his expression unreadable. He let them mock, let them laugh. They didn't understand. Yet, Vroth turned to Grant, his sharp yellow eyes glowing with amusement. "Tell me, Captain, do your people seriously believe these barges can stand against real warships?" Grant slowly looked up, his face calm. "We believe they serve their purpose." The response made Vroth chuckle. "And what purpose is that?" "Carrying supplies, transporting livestock." More laughter. Grant leaned forward slightly. "You misunderstand, Supreme Commander. Humans don't build ships the way others do." His voice was steady, measured. We don't show our strength openly. Vroth's smirk faded just a little. A bold claim. Grant's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. A warning. The chamber quieted slightly, but only for a moment. Counselor Drenner shook his head. Enough of this. The Zorvath have already sent a fleet to test your warships. He grinned, his mandibles clicking. Once they return, I expect we'll need a new representative for Earth. Vroth let out a low growl of amusement. Indeed, my fleet will crush these pathetic humans before the next council session. Grant's smile didn't waver. Vroth mistook it for foolish confidence. He would soon learn otherwise. Admiral Xor-Vanek's claws dug into the armrests of his command chair. His yellow eyes widened as the battlefield shifted before his very eyes. The human cargo ships were no longer harmless freighters. They had transformed. Heavy armor plating slid into place, covering vulnerable sections. Massive hidden cannons emerged from compartments that once looked like storage bays. The hulls of the ships, thick and reinforced, absorbed plasma fire with ease. For the first time in his long military career, Xor-Vanek felt something dangerous. Doubt. A voice broke through the silence on the bridge. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy spikes from the human fleet." Xor-Vanek's heart pounded. What? There. Before he could finish, the first human ship fired. A beam of pure destruction lanced through the void, striking one of the Zorvath cruisers dead center. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then, the cruiser exploded. Not just a standard explosion, it was erased. One moment it was there. The next, it was a cloud of dust. Gasps filled the bridge. Xor-Vanek shot to his feet. "Report." His second-in-command stammered. The dagger's claw is gone. Hull integrity dropped to 0 instantly. No escape pods launched. No debris large enough to salvage. Xor-Vanek's blood turned cold. It took one shot to erase an entire warship. A warrior beside him whispered, "That wasn't a weapon. That was an execution." And Earth had dozens of these ships. Another officer panicked. "Admiral, the human fleet is moving in." On the display, the Earth warships advanced. Not fast, not in a hurry. Deliberate, relentless, like hunters who already knew they had won. Xor-Vanek's throat tightened. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. The trap had been set the moment the Zorvath Empire assumed Earth was weak. And now, they were about to pay for that mistake. Admiral Xor-Vanek's mind raced. Everything about this battle had been wrong. Earth's warships, dismissed as cargo haulers, had absorbed their first assault without damage. Their return fire erased a Zorvath cruiser with a single shot. Now, they were advancing. Xor-Vanek slammed a fist against the console. Regroup the fleet. Focus fire on their lead vessel. Overload the plasma cannons. I want that ship destroyed. The Dominator and 3 other Zorvath warships unleashed hell. A storm of plasma bolts, high-energy missiles, and kinetic rounds rained down on the human flagship. The void between the two forces burned with the light of the barrage. And yet, the Earth ship barely reacted. The plasma bolts splashed harmlessly against an invisible barrier, some kind of energy field stronger than anything the Zorvath had encountered. The missiles never reached their target. Mid-flight, their guidance systems failed. They turned away, as if rejecting their mission. The kinetic rounds struck the hull and did nothing. No cracks, no damage. It was like firing pebbles at a mountain. Xor-Vanek froze. What is this? His officers whispered among themselves. Some stood motionless, staring at their screens. The battle they thought they were fighting was already over. The human fleet returned fire. Another Zorvath warship vanished. A second followed moments later. One shot, one kill, every time. Panic spread among the Zorvath crews. They weren't fighting a weaker enemy. They were facing a predator beyond their understanding. Then the human fleet did something unexpected. They opened communications. A message appeared on every Zorvath screen. We gave you a chance. The word sent a chill through every soldier. Then came another line. Now we will show you what happens when you don't listen. For the first time in his life, Admiral Sorvanek felt fear. And he realized this was never a war. It was an execution. Admiral Sorvanek had fought many wars. He had crushed entire planets beneath the might of the Zorvath Empire. Never once had he doubted victory. Until now, his warships, once symbols of power, were being erased. Every shot from the human fleet annihilated a target. No wreckage, no survivors, just nothing. And now, that chilling message glowed on his screen. Now we will show you what happens when you don't listen. A cold, suffocating fear spread through the bridge. The Zorvath crew members, hardened warriors, looked terrified. Admiral, one of his officers stammered, we have to retreat." Sorvanek's claws twitched. Retreat. The Zorvath Empire had never retreated. But this was no ordinary battle. This was a massacre. Another warship, one of their strongest dreadnoughts, tried to escape, its engines flaring at full power. The nearest Earth ship tilted slightly, as if taking notice. A second later, a single bright beam lanced across the void. The dreadnought vanished. It didn't explode. It ceased to exist. Silence filled the bridge. The humans weren't just fighting. They were choosing who lived and who died. A comms officer's voice broke the silence. A message from the humans. Sorvanek clenched his fists. "Play it." The screen flickered. A human figure appeared. Captain Elias Grant. His expression was calm. Not angry. Not gloating. Just disappointed. "You were warned," Grant said. "You mocked us. You attacked us. And now you are learning why Earth doesn't show its true strength." The human leaned closer. "Leave now, or we end this." Sorvanek's breath caught. He looked around at his fleet. What was left of it? Only half remained. The rest were gone. Erased. A choice lay before him. One path led to pride and extinction. The other led to humiliation and survival. He made his decision. "Signal all ships." Sorvanek growled. "We're retreating." The bridge crew exhaled in relief. Engines roared to life. The Zorvath fleet turned away from Earth, fleeing the battlefield. And as they left, one final message came from the human fleet. "Smart choice." Sorvanek shuddered. For the first time in history, the Zorvath Empire had lost. The Zorvath fleet limped away, broken and humiliated. Silence filled the bridge of the Dominator as Admiral Sorvanek stared at the battle reports. Half of their fleet, gone. Not disabled. Not salvageable. Simply erased. And the humans? Not a single ship was destroyed. His claws dug into the armrest. This wasn't just a defeat. This was a lesson. The Zorvath Empire had always believed itself unstoppable. They had crushed weaker species with ease, reducing civilizations to rubble. But Earth had never needed to fight wars across the stars. Because if it did, there would be no war. Only annihilation. A comms officer hesitated before speaking. "Admiral, should we inform the High Command?" Sorvanek let out a slow breath. "No." The officer blinked. "Sir." The Admiral's eyes burned with something unfamiliar. Not just fear. Respect. The High Command would want retaliation, Sorvanek said. They would send more ships. He clenched his fists. And the humans would erase them, just like today. A chilling realization settled over the crew. The war had ended before it had even begun. A strategist at the back of the bridge spoke carefully. "Then, what do we do, sir?" Sorvanek's voice was grim. "We make sure no one ever attacks Earth again." The bridge fell into stunned silence. The Zorvath Empire had always expanded through war. But today, they had learned a terrifying truth. Earth was not a weak, primitive world. Earth was a sleeping beast. And the Zorvath had been foolish enough to wake it up. Deep in the heart of the Zorvath Empire, the High Command gathered in their grand war chamber. Admiral Xorvanek stood before them, his uniform tattered, his pride shattered. He had never reported a defeat before. And yet here he was. A High Chancellor sneered. "You fled from primitives." Xorvanek's claws flexed. "They are not primitives." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Another commander scoffed. "Their ships look like cargo haulers." Xorvanek slammed his fist onto the war table, cracking the stone. The laughter stopped. "You do not understand," he growled. "We never stood a chance." Silence. The commanders studied him now, sensing something they had never seen before. Fear. Xorvanek gestured to the holoscreen. A recording played. The battle. They watched as a single Earth warship erased a Zorvath dreadnought with one shot. They watched missiles turn away, refusing to strike human vessels. They watched the human fleet advance, slow, relentless, like executioners. By the end of the recording, the High Command sat in stunned silence. Xorvanek spoke, his voice cold and certain. "If we attack Earth again, we will not be fighting a war. We will be facing extinction." The High Chancellor's mandibles clicked. "Then, what do you suggest?" Xorvanek inhaled deeply. "We never make an enemy of Earth." A long pause. Then the High Chancellor nodded. "Very well." Within hours, a new decree was sent across the Zorvath Empire. Earth was to be avoided at all costs. No attacks, no invasions, no interference. And the message did not stop there. Other empires listened. Other species took note. The Zorvath were never afraid of anyone. But they feared Earth. The galaxy heard the warning. And so, for generations to come, no one dared to challenge humanity again. Not because Earth was weak, but because Earth had been merciful. And no one wanted to see what would happen if that mercy ever ran out. The end.